My guest today is Himanshu Tyagi. Himanshu is the co-founder at Sentient, a blockchain project enabling community-built Open AGI. We'll learn all about this today, but welcome to the show, Himanshu.
Thank you, Andy. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show. It would be great if you could please introduce yourself. Love to hear some of your personal and professional backstory. Yeah, like what have you been doing in the lead up to founding or co-founding Sentient?
Right. So I'm Himanshu Tyagi. I'm one of the core contributors and co-founder for Sentient. And prior to this, I was doing another crypto project called Witness Chain. Witness Chain is an AVS on Eigenlayer. And I have come from an academic background. I have been an academic for all of my life. I'm a professor at the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. And I went to IIT Delhi, did engineering like a good guy from India, and then went to the US for my PhD. Was there for about 10 years before I joined back at academic institution in India. My research area has been mostly in cryptography, AI, before they became so hot. And so I was, even before joining crypto, I was very blockchain curious. And then at some point I thought that I should see what's happening in the real world of crypto. And we started this project called Witness Chain with my co-founder, Pramod Viswanath, who is a faculty at Princeton. Pramod and I were doing Witness Chain together, and now we are doing Sentient together.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Let's learn a little bit more about Sentient then, Himanshu. It would be great if you could give us a high-level summary. So, we can see that you guys are talking about, moving towards a community-built open AGI. I'm sure you mean decentralized. So just explain a little bit more about, what the big idea here is, what is the vision of Sentient?
Right. So the gap that we are trying to fill is very clear. So today, if you try to build, you're an AI builder, you won't, and you're an individual AI builder, just the two of you, and you're building an AI app. The option that you have is that you go to Open AI and get GPT access and build an app on it. Or you may choose to have Claude and build an app on it. If you try to do the same thing on open models on Llama, you won't get, your app won't work that way. So first thing is that we want to have an ecosystem of open models like Llama and its extension and variants on which one can build cutting edge AI applications. So very useful open models. With today, this is a closely guarded secret. And what's worrying about it is that guarded secret was built around contributions from researchers like myself and others, right? And so we want to bring that guarded secret back to public in open form. Now, in doing so, we go back to the same community. When we see, say, community here, we talk about AI builders, the model developers who sort of experts, right? Who understand how to collect data for this, how to filter data for this, how to generate synthetic data for this. And all of it then becomes this model that's this billion-dollar asset used by all these applications. So when they create that billion-dollar asset, several billion-dollar asset, they own a part of that asset as a part of their contribution. That's our community build AI. And AGI, because AGI is evolving out of these models as more and more reasoning capabilities built in these models and as more and more variants of these models interact with each other. That's the story. That's a simple story. Now, what's the difficult part of the story? The only difficult part of the story is how the hell does one monetize open models? Can I not just copy this model and run somewhere else and then the whole value leaks, right? This community build this model. It's the greatest model. Everyone is building around it, but you copy it and keep it somewhere else and then the whole value leaks. So the technical problem that Sentient is after is to make sure that you cannot just copy and run this model somewhere else. So we call this the OML format. We want models to be open because this is the whole play around open models. We believe in open models. We think that the key resource for innovation should be open. You can lock the business, but the key resource for innovation should be open. So open models, monetizable models, which means that if you use it, then I can get paid. I, as a contributor to the model, can get paid. So they are monetizable models. And the highest level is loyal models, which means that the models cannot be used outside what the builders intended its use cases to be. So the builders are the true owners and controller of the model. So these are open monetizable loyal models. That's the technical problem that Sentient is solving. That's what Sentient is after, OML model.
Got it. Thank you very much, Himanshu. Look, this will seem like an obvious question, and I think most people know the answer, but I think it's probably quite useful context. Just explain why you said in the beginning, Himanshu, that anyone can, if you want to create some kind of AI app, you can go to Open AI and build it on GPT, and it will work. But if you try and do that with Llama, it won't be the same. Explain why that is.
Right. Yeah. So, well, that's not at all a simple question. I think that's a very profound question. Why is it that when one tries to build applications around Llama, then it doesn't perform as well as when one tries to do it around Open AI models? And the big reason for that is that an open model like Llama has no opinion. It's supposed to support the world. Whereas when you build a model like GPT, you know what's driving its development. Chat GPT is driving its development. The use cases are coming from Chat GPT. And then if you're lucky, your requirement matches what Chat GPT is doing, right? And then it will be useful for you. So this kind of open models are designed with no opinion. It's not an opinionated design, and they're not optimized for any one end corner. And it will take a lot of resources for Facebook, human resources also, to find teams to figure out which direction to take it and optimize it. So it doesn't work. In practice, many things fail. For example, this ability to produce structured output fails. The ability to do tool calling is not so good. And these are like some core abilities required to build an agentic framework, let's say, around Llama. So some core capabilities it's lacking on. And to begin with, Sentient is filling those gaps to begin with.
Yeah. All right. Makes sense. Thank you, Himanshu. So, you talked about how Sentient then, the aim is to kind of solve that monetization problem through the open monetizable loyal model. So just explain again how that can work. I gather that you want to you need to create some kind of flywheel to attract both developers to the system, to the ecosystem, and of course users hopefully will then follow as well. So how do you propose to kind of get that flywheel underway?
Great. Yeah. So there are two parts. I think what you're asking about is the economy of it. We can talk about technology later. Suppose now you have this open monetizable loyal models. Let's assume for now. That's actually a very hard problem to solve. It's like a scientific agenda we have. But let's say that this exists. So what does it enable? As you're pointing out, there are two sides to this. One is this AI builder who will use these models to build different types of AI applications. It's not something that needs to be created. There's a huge hunger. Everyone wants to be an AI builder. Everyone wants to start this 1%, 2% company. And this, everyone includes high school kids and including my own daughter who can patch it up. I mean, there's this tremendous there's a tremendous interest in it. All of us are experiencing it. People are worried. The old guard is worried about how low the bar will go of building applications. Just to take an example, to set up a application like tic-tac-toe, which was the first year assignment someone would do an undergraduate when I was around. Now it takes a 10-year-old to prompt a model and set up whole thing, get the code, put it on repeat, and you're ready. And I'm saying this because my daughter was able to do it. And it didn't take her more than 2 hours. She had no clue about programming. So this category of who are these AI builders is huge. Everybody's the AI. This is one side of it. These guys are hungry. They need to come to open models because frameworks like Open AI are restrictive in how they can use it for their API access, and they want to come to open models. This category is the other side of supply is a more sophisticated category. These are the people who know how to get a model to the level where OpenAI came. And they know as a collective knowledge, and as and when they get working on this common threads, let's get this feature to the model. Let's build this kind of models. As and when that starts happening, they come together towards it. So these are the other side of supply. So for us, we are going to have various campaigns through which we grow these models. We call them campaigns. So so some of these campaigns happen async, which is most of us them for now. And sometimes we go out in a hackathon mode, and when we have a very well-defined problem and get a lot of people to contribute fast on it. So our first hackathon, we call it the AGI Thon. is happening with AGI House in Hillsborough on November 9th. And it's very interesting. It's a game called Werewolf, where there's different AI agents have to play this detective game called Werewolf. And why we are doing that, and this is just to give you a flavor of how remarkable is this community building. It's not as one may have imagined, let's say 1.5 years back or 2 years back. So what you do is when you bring this AI agents, which are very powerful, they compete with each other in a detective game like Werewolf. What you learn from that is this winner transcripts, the transcripts that actually win the game. And there's a wealth of information about reasoning there. And you want your model to be trained about this reasoning. Because in a game like Werewolf, you are in a very high interactive strategic environment where you have to make your allies. For those of your listeners who may not know, Werewolf is this detective game where people get a character, either a werewolf or a villager. They're just two werewolves and there are multiple villagers. And if the werewolves kill all but two villagers, they win. And if the villagers catch the werewolf before them, the villagers. And what is magic about this game, and that's the magical part, is just two werewolves often win over let's say 5-6 villagers. And because they have more information. So these games are detective games where villagers have to figure out the information from natural language. Now, when you make AI play these games, and when they win those games, the transcript tells you where they are missing or where they are leading. And from that transcript, you can improve the model further. I'm giving you a flavor of how this data is generated and how these models are improved. So this other side of model builders is actually pretty sophisticated. And a lot of stuff is going on that side. There's a very simple side where the whole world wants to participate, which is the AI builder, application builders, where even a 10-year-old can be a builder using an open. There is this, I think right now, and this bar may go down, right now a high skill category of generating the right data to train the model. And so this is a smaller pool which we're interacting with. For us, this is sitting in universities, sitting in these hackathons, with builders coming to these hackathons. That's the kind of pool on this. And that's the flywheel we want to start going. Now we are incentivizing these guys to not just build this model and put it on. In the past, what they would have done is you build something and you put it on Hugging Face, and then you have a GitHub repo and you get some stars for it, and then you used to have that on your resume to join Google. The alternative path, which has come up last year, is that, okay, if you really did well, then a VC funds you, right? Which is very recent. And there's something in the middle, which we are creating, which is like, that's okay. As and when you contribute, you're actually owning that asset. And if that asset gets used, then that becomes your revenue.
Yeah, well, look, Himanshu, speaking of VC funding, I note that you and your team, you know where I'm going with this. I believe you received about 85 million in funding, led by Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is, a notoriously, inscrutable investor. He's, one of the contrarian. How did that come about?
Yeah, led by Founders Fund. I think this was a little bit earlier. We started roughly in the first quarter of the year. Not that earlier, but we have been running since then, so it looks like it was previous like a lifetime ago. But so I think there's a huge excitement about new ideas in AI, and it's only funds like Founders Fund who appreciate this kind of thing. So one can take a hard way, which is quite hard right now. Enter the basement and try to prove it. For us, the team already has proven that kind of thing, and the team was assembled. Not assembled, the team came together. The team came together for a very ambitious project, and we were able to present that ambition to the VCs, and they appreciated the scope of the project. That's how it came about, actually. I think this is one of the problems of our generation, at least for this decade. What comes out of this, right? I don't know. I'm just appalled to see how, even in social gatherings with my friends and families, there are extreme emotions about AI. Either there's huge excitement about what I can do and everyone wants to move to AI, or there's this fear about, will it eat all our jobs? Like designers, for example, there are some designer friends I have, and I was surprised to see that they don't see it as a tool, but as a threat, which will take away their job. I'm being a technologist and a humanist to a lot of extent. I feel that these are all tools, and we always abstract out and go to the next. So these problems are touching everyone, and I think our VCs appreciate the scope of that project and they support us for that. In this kind of ecosystem play, unless you have some basic amount of capital, I don't think you can take off. And that's why we start with a basic amount of capital. And it's a seed fund, but it's a seed fund for Sentient. But it's not a seed fund for the founders. We have been around for a while. So in that sense, they were betting on the vision and the team. And it was pretty exciting time.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. It's fascinating. I completely agree with you, Himanshu, and that there's this weird disconnect in the world at the moment between people who understand kind of where we are in that curve of, let's just say, they've read the singularity is coming, and for a while they understand what exponential growth actually means. They've been reading Ray Kurzweil for a while, and to everyone's surprise, GPT arrived and suddenly it looked like Kurzweil's predictions were actually going to be on point. 2045 is not that far away. But at the same time, Mr. Elon Musk had an incredible weekend in terms of what he released with that Tesla event, and then landed that rocket earlier today. But then you go on Twitter and you just sort of see people poo-pooing the idea of Elon Musk being able to pull anything off, and yet there are these incredible wonders of technology staring people in the face, but people don't understand the world is changing rapidly around them.
Elon is crazy, man. This is like he has set the bar at a very unexpected, very, very unreasonable level. This last week itself, there were 3 announcements which were all completely crazy. One is the SpaceX landing back into the tower. How the hell is that possible? I don't know. That's madness. I've interacted with smaller satellite companies in India, satellite launching companies in India, and what they accomplish after so much energy and capital versus this. I don't know how he's doing it. Some magic. The other magic was that whole thing around Tesla bots. Like, that's another level of magic. I know some of them may be remote controlled. Turns out I was involved in a remote control bot activity, and even to make a remote control bot to that extent is completely crazy. The level of engineering that's and the third one, which is probably not as well known right now, but third one was the setting up of this mega compute cluster for XAI, which is another marvel. They were able to, Jensen Huang was saying, I saw that podcast where he was pointing out that it took them 19 days to set up this 100 cluster, which was about 100,000 or 200,000 H100s. Now, again, turns out that I was involved in an activity where India, they were setting up this oil-cooled and water-cooled cloud. And it did take them 5 years to set up a much smaller facility. And I know there are government bureaucracies, but how much can you accelerate? How could you make it 19 days? There's some madness there. And this guy is extraordinary in his technology execution. And it sets the bar very high. I don't think it's reasonable. I don't know what's going on.
And do you feel like, in some respects, Himanshu, that Elon is kind of one of the good guys, and that he is potentially kind of has a similar mission to you guys at Sentient, and that he has seen perhaps the centralization threat, let's just call it that, from, say, your Open AIs or your Googles, and he's, one of the, obviously, he's bought Twitter for free speech and whatever else, but, some of the reasoning, as he explains it, by the deployment of Grok was, to create an anti-woke AI, if you like. But again, just another way of putting it is a balancing force against the centralization threat, as I say, of Open AI. And I guess you guys are coming at it from a much more decentralized angle, but kind of working towards the same goal in a roundabout way. Does that make any sense?
Yes. So just for the previous answer, right? So this is all technology story, what I just said in the previous answer. Now the magic is that a technologist like Elon Musk is at the center of the political and social discussion.
Yes.
That's the magic of the time that we live in. I don't know, maybe I should dig deeper into it, but I never saw someone like Edison reflecting that much on social and political construction. And more recently, Steve Jobs, right? I grew up in the Steve Jobs era of, like, the fandom for me was Steve Jobs. Like, what kind of mad genius is this guy? And now he was also not so much involved. I never heard a very elaborate political or social commentary coming out of it. And so this is a very different time, where the gap between cutting edge technology and a common person in terms of information is completely vanished. And so we get to experience a person like Elon. We feel we have emotions about him because he's on Twitter every day. This changes the construct. Okay, this is a very different construct we are staying in. So he has a stand on politics and social things, and people align around it. Harai writes a lot about it. What you said, absolutely in the broad terms, Elon and we are in the same direction. In fact, as I said, as you can imagine, I'm a big fan of Elon as a technologist. And I also agree with this part about extreme understanding of what is correct by, I don't like the left and right labels, but by some people, right? I used to be, I thought I was on that side, but it's extreme conviction on something people don't understand, that this is how it should be. And at the end, it becomes a power alignment game that people start deriving power from just that narrative. I don't think this so-called woke culture is fighting for any kind of rights anymore. It became a power game. And the people who are involved at the front of it, they are fighting for the power game there. And it may not be even representative of the people that they are representing. So in this world where these cliques come out so quickly, which would have taken 100 years to build an empire, fallen. I'm calling that work as an empire, right? It will take 100 years to collect that kind of opinion. In this world, these counterbalances which we want to create, and I think to some extent Elon is creating another version of it, are very important. I think there is alignment in these two missions quite a bit. And for us, what we feel is that there should be all these variants possible. And there should be all these information regularly possible and disseminated. And I like, this is the top of the mind thought for me, because someone was telling me I should read Nexus by Harari, and I ended up reading recently while I was flying. I didn't read so much of his previous work, but I know where he's drawing from. I was impressed with how clear he has written. One thing he brings out very sharply, which I had understood but never articulated, is the difference between truth and information coordination. So it's not about, no one can fight the truth war, is what I understand, because truth is not one truth anymore. People find it very difficult to agree on. But at least we should allow people to coordinate freely and come to their own opinions, and there should be a multitude of opinions, right? And that is the part I'm after. I leave the truth battle for the maybe more higher ups, but for me, I want to make sure that all the options are available. And I'm particularly bothered by a small engineering team in Google being able to take a call on what kind of alignment a model like Gemini should have when it will touch every human. I think that was one of the lowest points in AI in the recent 2 years. That model was released with fixed alignment like that, which was extreme on the other side. That was a very stupid thing, and that exposed the dangers of this. So we must make sure that there are enough options available. Right now, the kind of traffic these closed models capture, they're taking it away from Google, I would say. But the kind of traffic they capture, between Google, they capture all the internet traffic. If they decide to take a stand politically, it becomes a very hard battle for everyone to fight. And we must make sure that there are enough options available. That's what I was pointing out. It was a tech, but it's a socio-tech now. AI is a socio-tech. AI is not just tech. AI will touch your employment, your opinions, your relationships. Like, I'm sure many of us, right, like have hard political debates in our home. And those are they are opinionated by what our parents, our siblings are consuming from the internet. This is the extent to which this affects their life. The conversation in your on your Thanksgiving dinner tables are actually flavored by this. So this tech is at the heart of humanity, and there should be openness to this. And in that sense, you are right that Elon and we are in the same direction. And I think he believes in the same kind.
Yeah, great points in there, Himanshu. A lot to dig into, and I love the fact that you referenced Nexus by Yuval Harari, who of course was the author of *Sapiens*. Which was a great book. I haven't read Nexus, but so as I understand it, Nexus is kind of it's his history of information networks from the Stone Age to the AI, as only he can. He does have a gift for kind of covering that, immense sweep of human history with complex topics. So that'll be a good book to read. But, I wonder what he would think of something. I think he's pretty skeptical of, I imagine, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I imagine he's skeptical of Bitcoin and digital assets in general. And of course, it's kind of hard being at the intersection of crypto and AI, I imagine, Himanshu, because, as much as crypto kind of went through, a boom in maybe 2021, and then the sort of the AI boom that followed kind of took a lot of, I guess, attention away in terms of, the technologists. Do you find that that is the case? Is it harder to get, eyes on what you guys are building?
Uh, so crypto, like with all great technologies, surprise itself in how relevant it will become. This is true for all great technologies. Internet, for example. I'm sure, I'm sure internet, the founders of internet who were in 70s working on those things, 60s working on those things, DARPA, ARPANET and all those things, guys, they'll be surprised about what happened with the internet, how it became a force. So crypto, I would say the same. So blockchain, if you think of Bitcoin, basic idea of money, and I think it was driven in money, was a beautiful, simple, abstract, and taken away. But what it will become in the future, I think it is the perfect vehicle for this kind of alignment problem in AI. Because what Nexus is about is this thing. So let me also go to Nexus. Let's feel for Yuval, and he should pay me for it. So, so what that book is about is it's a cautionary tale. I feel he's quite worried how coordination of information gives you so much power, and how controlling information and coordinating things around it. So he distinguishes between the spreading of information and coordination of information. Spreading of information is what technology enables. Coordination of information is what Donald Trump enables and Taylor Swift enables. So people come around some icons and they agree with what they're saying, and they are ready to refute the contradicting evidence coming from a much smaller minority, right? And he invokes, I think the book is quite favorable to academia, and I'm an academic, so that part was pleasing to me, that he has given academia the special place of truth extractors, okay? And he has given them a very special place, and he's put them in some elite category as if they should something wrong with it also, but they are truth extractors. I don't agree with the final pessimism of I sense a deep pessimism in that book, which I don't agree. I think I agree with the analysis is spot on, but I don't think it's a pessimistic end. I sense maybe I'm putting words, maybe he was not. I sense the pessimism. I'm actually optimistic about it because I've seen the whole cycle. I've seen that academic life, how they are operating, and I understand there's some benefit, but it's all so inside and so inward looking, so disconnected from the outside world. I also see I come from the heart of populist politics in India. I see how populist politics work, and I feel it comes in. It has been enabling for a lot of people. Maybe I'm not one of those guys. Maybe some of us are not, because we went to top schools and we didn't need a populist support to make things happen. But I see how enabling it has been for the broad masses. So now in this world, crypto has a very special role. Crypto started with this enforcement of money thing, that here is the money and we can freely have this regulatory arbitrage. We can have this the decentralized money which everyone can do things with. But what it will now play a role is, and Sriram of Eigenlayer talks a lot about it, and I checked with him. He's quite inspired by Yuval. So that it will become a coordination layer. That owning and controlling these different notions of AI for us is a coordination layer play. Suppose you have all these different variants of AI controlled by blockchain. That's a coordination play. And that ownership happens on a blockchain. The requirements may be a bit different for a coordination layer versus an enforcement layer. When you are into money, then you are more thinking of enforcement of the right rule, right? There's a lot of excitement about meme coins, and meme coins are perfectly enforced enforcement layers, right? Decentralization may or may not be so important for a meme coin, but it must be enforced. It must be fair. No cheating, no hidden bags, and so on and so forth. But there's also a coordination aspect of crypto and blockchains, which I think will become more and more important in the future. And this is where I think Sriram says that this is where forkability will become very important. That a group should be able to fork its own chain, and even a minority, and bootstrap from there. So some different aspects of blockchains will be picked up in this, and I'm quite excited about it. It's a natural companion for alignment. Actually, crypto is a natural companion for enabling AI in this world where AI is some kind of the enabler of coordination of information. And whatever you agree on, you should have some share in that AI, which can happen on blockchain. I don't think Yuval expressed any deep concern about crypto that much. I didn't see any of that part. But I see just from outside, I see that this is a natural companion. I'm a use case guy for crypto. I'm always passionate about how crypto will get more and more mainstream adoption. And I feel this alignment layer of AI is going to be it. That's where it will end as the mainstream thing.
Yeah. All right. Very well said, Himanshu. Look, let's finish up this part of the podcast then, and just again make the case for how you're going to align those incentives on the alignment layer. And for people that want to learn more about Sentient and the Open AGI Foundation, just explain what people should do and where they should go to keep up to date and get involved.
Right. Today, the one-stop up-to-date place for all our document, which our white paper is out there. It's a long white paper. It's like a 60-page document. Is on our Sentient.foundation website. And this is the place where we will keep on updating everything that comes out. Obviously, you should follow the Sentient_AGI handle. That's where we tweet everything on Twitter. But this one place is the Sentient Foundation website. I think that's pretty updated, and it will remain updated. In terms of how do we economically plan to coordinate this thing? There is something very interesting about coordination, right? Like that this has to be case by case. BitTensor, which is another popular project in crypto AI and doing very well right now, taught us something. And I love that lesson. If you look at their white paper, they put out a very specific thing about how people will be rewarded when they do and when they contribute. Some very technical thing they put down. I understand what they were trying to say. But when they went ahead and implemented it, none of it got implemented. That was not what they implemented. What they learn about incentivizing people is that it will be a lot of case-by-case basis based on what you're doing. And that's not necessarily a single math problem. So here, in similar vein, what we feel is that based on different models being built and different type of contributions to those models, you will be rewarded ownership on that. We leave that part to that activity. So when we do some activity, for example, now in this Werewolf campaign, if you submit an agent and the agent does really well, it wins, it's the winner, it's like always wins, then this agent gets rewarded the highest, right? As simple as that, in terms of the ownership of the model that ever is derived from that data, right? And so these ownership will be case by case basis. The other side is easy. When this model is deployed, it gets used. That payment which comes back, the protocol makes sure that it's in proportion to the ownership is shared back with the contributors. That's how it should be. And that's how it will keep people, the builders, incentivized to take on the model. So imagine anyone who contributed to Reddit gets rewarded now when any of these AI models use. Reddit and Wikipedia were two very important resources for these models to work by them. I think 3 resources which stand out are, that's quite interesting. Although the models are centralized, but the data which made it happen was all done through complete decentralized activities. There were 3, in my opinion, there are 3 very important data sources. One is Stack Exchange, second is Reddit, and third is Wikipedia. And all these 3 sources were actually decentralized and community built. So the incentive we are talking about is, imagine that all these contributors of Reddit threads, in some proportion, are shared the revenue of GPT and Claude and all those things. Right. So that's the incentive alignment we are talking about.
Yeah, very well said. And that link, of course, it is in the show notes, folks, but it is, Sentient.foundation. All right. Well, Himanshu, it is time to finish up the podcast. And we do that, of course, by running you through the very famous crypto conversation hot take round. Are you up for it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right. I'm just going to run some questions at you, Himanshu. All I want you to do is give me your honest answers. What kind of hot take style, if you can. Let's see what you have to say. A bit of a funny one, question 1, but I'm going to be fascinated by what you do say. The question is, where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
Anti-chain opportunist.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
No, I'm all for decentralization, all for many coordination layers.
Of course. What would you say then is your firmest conviction crypto opinion?
Nick is going to say crypto.
Bill Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. As a technologist, you'll be very familiar with that kind of thinking. Look, 10 years is a long time. Cast your mind forward, whatever you want here, sentient AI, blockchain, intersection of all of this, 10 years time, what does it all look like?
I completely agree with the statement, and all of us have experienced this is maddening, right? It happens, and it's completely crazy. So what we feel is that this way of putting GitHub repos and you just see the stars of it will actually become a financial asset. The GitHub repos will become a financial asset, and that's the kind of world we are imagining. And so you will start making money as a builder from the GitHub repos that you're playing, not directly by the usage, but through this kind of coordination by projects like Sentient, and as and when applications build on it. So today you can do the whole end-to-end thing and make money through your GitHub repo, but we will turbocharge it. We are only beginning to see the world of this one-person companies build on open software, and we will exceed it. That's the world we look forward.
Yeah, I like it. Very well said. Another way of thinking about this, of course, is a famous quote by William Gibson that you'll be familiar with. He, of course, said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. With that in mind, Himanshu, can you think of an example, and I'm sure you can, of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it?
Oh, I mean, this last week was all about future. We were just discussing in the beginning. Space travel, I have to admit, I would not have agreed 5 years back. It actually will become a thing. I think it's here. I'm getting more and more convinced. AI, the AI will be everywhere and we would not even recognize it. Like that future is also here. Like these two parts of the future are for sure. I think it's certain. There's no doubt in my mind. These two things are here.
Yeah, very well said. Could not agree more. And it brings us nicely to the final question, Himanshu, which is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
Okay, so lately I've been thinking a lot about Matrix. The reason I've been thinking about Matrix is because I felt that it will become very difficult to tell if you are in the Matrix or not. And I think that's some. In fact, later I have a talk with Thomas from Nether Minds on this topic. So I think this is one of the important problems. That forget about being in the Matrix or whether the Matrix will come, right? The point is, will you be able to tell are you in the Matrix or not? What is physical? What is software? Will you be able to tell? And I think that's a very interesting problem. And Matrix was such a crazy science fiction movie because it made you think that this is actually maybe happening now. And so it took me in that I watched it as a high schooler that tells you where age. And so it made me think, that am I in the Matrix now or not? And it was a very fascinating time. I think now we are living that time. And the most important question to answer for me there is, am I in the Matrix or not? So what is real? What is software? And this is one of the important questions we must address.
Yeah, I really appreciate that answer, Himanshu. And one of the reasons I do appreciate that answer is because every now and again, I've asked this question on, I've done over 400 episodes of this podcast. So I've asked this question over 400 times. Every now and again, someone will flip it on me and they'll say, well, Andy, what is your answer to that question? And my answer, Himanshu, is your answer as well. I say the first Matrix film for multiple reasons, really. Obviously, it is.
Yeah, first. Sorry, the first. The other two are crap. I reject the other two as Matrix.
Well, no, I just assumed you were talking about the first film because it goes without saying. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's an incredible film just in its own right. But yeah, it really did kind of popularize this idea of whether you call it the Matrix or what we call now simulation theory. It just, it really did bring those ideas to the forefront. And of course, now it turns out that, I mean, the smart people seem to think that it could well be more likely than not. In fact, much more likely that we're in a simulation than whatever base reality is, which is just, it's hard to wrap your head around sometimes, isn't it? What is software? What is hardware? What is real?
Yeah. That's I think that's the problem of our next generation. They
Yeah.
will need to know if their friends are real, if their if their online community is real.
Well, we will have fun figuring it out one way or another. And we come to the end of the show, kind of a strange place to leave it, but these are the big questions of our times. Himanshu, just close it out by again, sharing, your Twitter handle or X handle or wherever else you like to hang out online, and again, just point people in the direction of Sentient and the Sentient Foundation.
Thanks a lot, Andy. So Sentient is building building Open AGI with community contributions. You can follow everything we're doing at the Sentient handle, which is Sentient_AGI on Twitter, or you can go to our website, sentient.foundation, and where all the updates will be coming. That's from the foundation side. And you can follow me because I obviously broadcast everything Sentient does at HS Tyagi on Twitter. And looking forward to hearing questions from all of you.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, we'll see you in the Matrix. Himanshu, thank you very much for spending some time with us today. It was a pleasure. All the best and bye for now.
Thank you, Andy. Bye.